when the Prime Minister is going now, there have been reports that there are several organizations which are going to be having rallies, protests. You're going to have the Khalistanis coming and protesting. Incidentally, people don't know this. The Khalistanis have been protesting against an Indian Prime Minister visit in America or in Canada. Forever.
If I remember as a child, one of those moments that gives you, when you're proud about your Prime Minister, when you're proud about some event or some incident, was actually the response Rajiv Gandhi in his visit to the US at that particular time gave to a gentleman, a supporter of Khalistan. Yeah. So, this is going to happen.
This organization which has written to the president, the organization which hosted Rahul Gandhi's visit, they've written to the American president saying disallow the Indian Prime Minister from speaking at the US Congress. So when all this happens, there's a section of Indians who feel, why doesn't America stop them?
Don't we as people with the ability to write tweets or write columns or participate in podcasts, criticize America with all gusto? We have to move on. As people, we have different assessments of the world, different views of the world. And here I come back again to my point that there is a real state and there is a street.
Yeah, when you talked about the elite.
I talked about the elite, the strategic elite.
Now, and then you have America, changing Asia Pacific to India Pacific. So obviously India is the target.
Look, I think the Americans, to be honest here, this is not a knee-jerk reaction. Mm-hmm. I think I think it's a good point to talk about America. Look, Americans have the street, which could be free and loud and crazy, obnoxious, everything. All shades of good and bad and ugly, the street. But America has a elite, has a strategic elite. And this is not elite in terms of money. This is elite in terms of how they think about the nation and how they think about the nation's future. That elite is steadfast. It is far more certain of what it wants to do. In fact, you should look at the continuity between Trump and Biden. There is nothing similar about the two gentlemen.
True.
The two parties were literally, they would have fought a war if that was allowed in American elections. If you were allowed to pick up arms and shoot each other instead of voting, they would have done that.
Yeah.
But look, they are so different. And yet you see the continuity in American foreign policy. From one regime to the next, from one establishment to the next, from one party to the next. You saw the continuity. Trump, literally everything he did in foreign policy terms, be it China, be it demanding greater investment by Europeans in NATO. Look at what Trump did, and has it been reversed? No. So I think the Americans in some sense assessed this moment where they knew that the Chinese are now beginning to assert themselves and are going to therefore need to be managed in a different manner. Asia Pacific was a term and a political map and a strategy that was to work with the markets of Asia, the economies of Asia, to in some ways preserve the Western Pacific architecture of that America thought was beneficial to them, and therefore Asia Pacific worked at that time. But they could sense that the Chinese ambitions were not limited to that part of the world.
When the conflicts on the East Asia Sea and all those had started.
Correct. They knew that was a trailer. And they were right. Here you have China creating peace deals in the Middle East. Here you have China's ambition to reshape Central Asia. Here you have Chinese trains reaching Western Europe. They could sense all of this happening, and they knew that the management or the political management of the future cannot be served by the 1945 arrangements that had been put into place. They needed a 21st century upgrade. The operating system needed a reboot, and the Indo-Pacific in many ways was an acknowledgement of that. The Indo-Pacific was an acknowledgement that the political map had changed, and the political map of both opportunity and contest is much bigger than the Asia-Pacific. It would include the Indian Ocean, Africa, the Mediterranean, through the Arabian Sea, through the Suez Canal, Southern Europe. They were all critical to now this new political map that would be both an opportunity landscape as well as a contest landscape. But secondly, they also assessed correctly that the actors who would need to be in place would be very different. The American political establishment knew that they needed new partnerships. They needed, in some ways, to rethink the alliance framework that had served them in the past to a new modern partnership framework that would serve them in the future. And India was a key part of that puzzle.
Click here to watch the full episode.